What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Resilience Fitness Podcast. It's another episode. We're ready to go.
We're ready to go.
And has it been fun so far? It's been like 4 episodes. Yeah?
It's been fun. It's always fun, especially looking back and watching. Today I wanted to ask you a bunch of stuff about your training and try to give the viewers some knowledge and some tips coming from you, especially as you're training for HYROX. Like I've been seeing you train harder than I've seen you train since we started Resilience.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Consistency and stuff like that, and intensity, I think.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about not just the workouts, because that's only part of it, but just talking about the pillars of fitness. So we got nutrition, we got obviously exercise, we've got, which can be so many different things, exercise, like how you're prioritizing strength training, cardio training, even mobility, stuff like that, rehabbing your body. And then we have, I mentioned food and sleep.
There's a couple other things too, a couple other like categories, if you want to call it that can be focused on, that we can talk about too. I think like rest, like mental rest as well, is a big one that I've been experiencing lately. And then after we kind of talk about that, I know there's a couple other topics we want to talk about. We want to talk a little bit about programming at Resilience. Usually on these podcasts, we do a lot of Resilience updates, which has been great. But we definitely, like Josh said, want to hopefully add a little bit of value or share some of our opinions more about broader topics outside of Resilience, like fitness. Yeah. And then, we want to talk a little bit about programming. Yeah. And some of the mistakes we've made and some of the things we've done well.
Some of the tweaks we're going to make coming up to phase 3.
Yes.
So that's going to be cool.
And then after that, some cool stuff about business that I think will be really interesting conversation. Yeah. About culture, the culture of a gym, how to navigate through that, and how to really stick to your values and deal with maybe challenges or things like that. So I think it's going to be a spicy podcast.
Let's hope so.
What do you think?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
We feel well rested, so that's a good one. Last week, I don't know if we were as rested as I feel better today than I did last time.
Hold on, time out. We do these podcasts on Thursdays. Yeah. So Josh is fresh off a nice rest from last night. I was here at
baby slept well.
Thursdays I'm here at like 5 a.m. setting up. So next week will be 4:30, buddy. But yeah, so no, I'm feeling good too. So let's jump into it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your training. Everyone's seeing you've been posting a lot, training, doing a lot of. You've been doing a lot of strength training. You've been coming to classes, doing the running. We can talk on that in a second. I want to talk about your nutrition, because that's a huge part of preparing and getting yourself ready for a race or whatever you're doing for training. So how are you approaching nutrition, supplementation, stuff like that as you're getting ready for this race? Yeah. How do you eat? Tell us how you eat. How often you eat? How do you prioritize protein? Are you eating lots of carbs? Are you eating clean? Are you snacking? Right. Are you hydrating?
Yeah, definitely. Food is an interesting topic. Nutrition is an interesting topic because definitely I believe food is meant to be enjoyed for sure. There's an aspect of like food, there's nothing like sharing a meal with people, going out, having some food with people. So I think there's an aspect of like you need to maintain the enjoyment of food. Yeah. But then there's another side which is very important when you're preparing to, I think, perform or compete or however you want to categorize it, and that's fueling your body. Yeah. So really thinking about food as fuel. Yeah. Or if I'm filling my truck up with gas, I have a choice of 3 different types of gas. Regular, I think it's bronze, or it depends what gas station you're at. But then you have like the premium gas and the supreme. So if you want your truck to run the best it can, then you want to put the premium in it, right? So thinking about food in that sense, just in a very like easy way to understand. Yeah. So I've been fueling my body rather than, I think since we started Resilience, there's been seasons where I've tried to like just maintain a lean body or look a certain part as a coach and perform a certain way. But eating in a way that, I'm going to look trim and proper like a coach. But now I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to keep a trim physique for sure, especially with HYROX, because you got to be able to run fast and you don't want to be heavy.
Yeah.
But I'm eating to fuel my body.
So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but like more the difference between eating to look a certain way and then eating to perform. How do they look different to you? So when you were eating to look a certain way, how are you eating differently than when you were eating to perform?
First of all, they coincide too. It's not like one or the other.
Yeah.
They definitely can merge, and they do merge for me.
Yeah.
So clean sources of protein, clean sources of carbohydrates, clean sources of fat. But for me, like I'm saying about fueling the body, it's actually getting enough calories and nutrition in my body.
Yeah.
So I never want to be on the side of not having enough fuel to help me get through this 90-minute workout.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's heavier on the fueling the body side. I need to get enough carbohydrates 2 hours before my workout.
Yeah.
I need to fuel my body after my workout with the right amount of protein and carbs to help me recover. What am I eating at night? These types of things actually make a massive difference in my training.
Yeah.
Right? So it's fuel. So I would say that the biggest difference, to answer your question, is I need to get enough fuel to last this road trip.
Yeah, yeah.
Or this, AKA this workout. I'm going to a road trip, I'm going on this journey, this workout that's coming up at 10 a.m., for example. So I need to fuel the night before, and I need to fuel the morning of.
Yeah, yeah. So from what I get from you, the difference is because you're exercising so much, you got to make sure you're taking the calories in, more carbohydrates in.
Yeah, yeah.
When you were maybe trying to stay lean, it's not as much, maybe it's a little bit less calories, and it's not so much about the perform piece, even though you're performing and working out, but when you're really training for something hard, you have to make sure you have to
fuel your body and help your body recover.
Yeah.
So you recover in multiple ways with the intensity of your workouts, knowing how to push and knowing how to pull back.
Yeah.
And then you also recover with sleep.
Yeah.
And you also recover with things like that. But then you also recover with what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
Am I getting the right amount of amino acids? Am I getting the right amount of protein? And honestly, I'm probably not the most knowledgeable. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy about it. I err on the side of a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
I don't count my calories.
No.
I don't count calories. I don't count calories. If you do your thing. I don't count calories. I fuel my body to perform.
So you're eating lots of whole food, trying to maximize whole foods.
Yes.
Carbs, fats,
good
proteins,
complex carbohydrates. Don't be afraid of carbohydrates if you're training. If you're training like a hybrid athlete, if you're running, if you're rowing, if you're skiing, and you're lifting heavy, you're gonna not eat You have to eat carbohydrates, the right ones though. Yeah. Right.
So what about recovery in terms of like putting a lot of like stress on your body? Obviously, training hard, squatting hard, lifting hard, right? And then you're running too. How are you treating your recovery?
Supplementation for sure.
Yeah.
Supplementation. So, I don't do a crazy amount of supplementation, but my wife Kara, she has a really good understanding and experience and knowledge in this particular topic, so she really kind of fuels the house and she chooses the right supplementation for me, and I just kind of follow her lead when it comes to that. So we use a company called Keon, we use a company called Symbiotic, that's a Canadian company, and I have creatine almost every day. Protein shakes, and I have some fish oil as well. That really helps with recovery. The right ones, and that's pretty much it. Like the main ones I have.
A lot of people ask us about creatine, and I think it's like a definitely no-brainer. I think studies have shown it's one of the most studied supplements of all time. They had a huge taboo when we were growing up in high school. It was going to retain water and all that stuff, and it was like seen as almost a taboo, and I think that still kind of lives for some people that haven't researched it a lot, but there's a lot of research to say it's a very safe, very low chance of any type of side effects supplement that's like very low cost and like a good return on investment in terms of like getting you stronger, keeping lean body tissue. I've heard that they even supplement this with a lot of elderly people now for like
wow. Okay.
So they're not like what's it called, muscle deterioration and stuff like that. So it's a very low cost supplement, creatine monohydrate. Definitely recommend myself.
Yeah, I would recommend it to. I would say don't work out without it. But that being said, do research on what a good quality brand is.
Yeah.
Like you have to do that big time.
Big easy way. Check the fillers if there's any fillers. You want to keep it as clean as possible. So you're always looking at the ingredients, making sure you don't want to eat synthetic or chemical.
But sometimes you got to dig a little deep because they're not going to say on the package, this is a okay brand. They're gonna make it look like it's the best brand. So you do have to do some research and talk to maybe an expert in it, or really spend time researching it if you're serious about it.
Yeah. And then whey protein for sure. Like that's a if you can take whey protein, it's always challenging. I find for me, it's like prioritizing protein in every meal, and sometimes that's hard to constantly be eating protein. But like for me, protein supplementation, easy way, very quick way to keep your protein intake up, and that's what's going to help build your muscles. So like to keep the protein high during the day. So if you're not using a protein, definitely recommend if you're having a hard time, like keeping consistent with getting protein in your every meal. So that's,
and let's state the obvious too. And I think people in maybe the fitness industry are more inclined, especially with doing like a podcast or something like this, to maybe have all the right answers.
Yeah.
But I would say that we don't have all the right answers. What I would say is that every person and every body is honestly different.
Yeah.
And some people need to really double down on the calories they're taking. They really need that extra calories.
Yeah.
And some people need
cut calories.
Yeah, to cut calories. So there's not one right answer for everybody, but you got to know what works for your body. These are just very general things that work for us. That I wouldn't say don't go without these things.
It's a good point. Good point. Because you could have someone that maybe like also has a goal of losing weight. They're also training for something very intense, but if their goal is to lose weight, maybe they're not still. Depends what your goals are, right? So that does make sense. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
One of the big questions we get here is, what do I eat before a workout?
Yeah.
It's such a good question because I was just talking about it 2 minutes ago about what I eat before. I eat 2 hours before, and some people I just would really say, I know it sounds crazy, but work out on an empty stomach if it's the morning. Maybe that doesn't work for some people though. But some people perform better like that. If they eat an hour before they work out, it's not going to be a good workout. Yeah. They might have to doo-doo in the middle of their workout, or their body doesn't react well to it, right? Whereas some people, they need that meal or that snack, apple and peanut butter, an hour and a half before.
This is kind of gross, but like every time, for me, like if I'm going for a run, every time, if I drink, I'm like, I haven't hydrated enough. Drink water, go for the run, and then you just feel like you have to burp, and you just can't. So like for me, you got to just find what works for your body. I can't drink too much water before I go for that run, or it just sits here, and that's all I can think about.
But here's the thing: the human body, it can elevate, and it can perform, and it can run, and it can jump. The human body is actually incredible. But it needs sustenance. It needs rest. It needs recovery. Yeah. And then it needs to perform, and then it needs to be pushed. So every single person's body is different, but you gotta be willing to experiment and be disciplined and try these things and find out what works best for you. It's a big part of what we do here. You gotta find out what works for you. Yeah. Right? If you're going to come out here and pay money for a gym membership and show up 4 or 5 times a week, you need to think about this. You need to think about this. Yeah. You need to think about this.
What about, do you do any recovery workouts or anything like that?
Yeah, so...
like mobility related?
Right now, I do some mobility and some accessory work on Thursdays. Yeah. Where it's just kind of 45 minutes of mostly glutes, hamstrings, core work. Yeah. Do that with patient, which is really, honestly, probably the hardest workout of the week for me. Not intensity wise, but just it's not a strength for me. But I know that I need to do it.
Why do you do that?
Well, it just helps with injury prevention. Yeah. So the demands that I'm putting on my body now in regards to volume, output, whether it's the kilometers that I'm running, or the intensity at which I'm lifting, my core and my glutes and my flexibility is so important now,
Yeah.
right? And something I haven't really focused on for the last few years as much as I should have. So that's injury prevention, that's longevity.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one kind of, I wouldn't say a recovery workout, but more of like an accessory workout. And then I do go on easy runs now, which is new for me.
Yeah. How are you liking those? You're starting to get into it more?
We're developing a relationship. I'm learning how to do it. More of if you don't know what that means, just kind of like a very slow pace, kind of zone 2 run.
Talking to, like, you can talk maybe.
Yeah, I like what my wife Kara said. Sometimes she goes on these once or twice a week and she makes calls. So she'll be on the phone with her earbud and she'll have kind of these conversations with whether it's business or she's calling a family member. Sometimes she calls me and she's able to have a sustained conversation that maybe isn't like long-winded like I'm talking right now, but it's conversational.
Yeah. Good measure for zone.
And you go on those too.
Yeah, I like these runs.
Yeah.
I usually do them at night, and you always feel better when you get back. It's just this nice, that sweat, you feel good. Yeah, so I've been enjoying those runs.
Mike Tyson was talking on Instagram the other day. Well, this was a clip from back in when he was young, but I saw it the other day, and he was talking about outdoor running.
Yeah.
And he got deep into it. He was saying that
Tyson?
He was saying, he was being interviewed, and he was saying, there's just something about going on a slower pace outdoor run that a treadmill or an indoor run just will never be able to match. He said you're conscious, you're aware of the birds hitting the twigs. You know how Tyson is, he kind of gets into it. And he goes, you're aware of the birds hitting the twigs, the sun, you can hear things. And he was like, even when I was wearing earphones, I was consciously aware of everything kind of going around me. And that's engaging, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're breathing in the air and you're just, and he was talking about how like spiritually for him, it connects him to it connects him to nature and just mentally it cleared his mind. A very interesting interview.
Yeah.
And it's true in many ways, running outside.
It's meditative, so kind of. You're focusing on your breathing. You're trying to be very aware, especially when you're trying to do zone 2. You're very aware of like, okay, am I getting out of zone 2? Am I trying to? So it can be like kind of meditative, I find.
Oh, that's a cool, this kind of side topic, but Mo, one of our coaches, Coach Mo, shout out Coach Mo, he was telling me there's this cool setting on the rowers and the skiers that you can set to kind of keep you in that zone 2, and it's like a game.
Oh, the bullseye game.
Yeah, the bullseye game, and you're rowing, and you're staying in this zone 2 state, and it shows if you get outside, exactly what you were just saying. If you're getting outside of it and the intensity's going up, it kind of like warns you, gives you like this beep, beep, beep thing, and if you dip too low. So it's almost a game to stay in that intensity zone.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Let's maybe we'll talk a little bit about the programming coming up. Basically.
Well, I thought we were talking more about the pillars. Like, we're talking about nutrition.
Okay. You want to talk about sleep?
You're jumping in.
You're on no sleep.
Yeah, no.
Sleep's hurting.
I thought there was a few pillars you want to talk about.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about sleep. Yeah. Sleep and talked about training, talked about nutrition.
Yeah, right now we're talking about pillars in fitness and kind of some of the focuses. What are some of the areas that maybe you and me are aware of that we need to do well, but it's not really being executed well? Just to give the listeners maybe some value. So.
Yeah. For me, it's. I'm feeling the crunch of being like kind of busy, trying to, I've been a newborn, helping out my wife, so there's so many areas of fitness. There's the strength piece, there's the running piece that I'm trying to train for, there's the rehab piece, strengthening the core, like you said, there's the mobility piece. So I think for me, what's challenging to fit in, I'm finding to stay consistent, is some of that accessory work, the mobility work and stuff like that, because I'm like, doing my best to try to hit some of these areas, and there's all these things on the checklist. And
so if you're kind of struggling with it, what would you say to the average person in fitness that might be listening to this? How do they confront that if they're?
So what I've been doing a little bit is like trying to speed it up, maybe a little bit by like just going to physio, getting treatment done and stuff like that. That is going to help for sure. So little things like that can help a lot. So I've been doing that a little bit massage, stuff like that. That's going to help with the recovery as well. Eating well is going to help, making sure I'm not eating stuff that's going to, you know, inflame my body or stuff that's not natural,
That's
right?
a good point. Inflammation. It's
so-
not, yeah, that's
so
a good
taking
point.
care of the diet, being very mindful when I'm training, right? Like when I'm, you know, this week we were squatting and stuff like that, trying to be as present as possible so I don't avoid injury, right? So like really focusing when I'm squatting on squeezing my core as hard as I can and being present during the lifts, because I know if I'm not present, if I'm not flexing my core, I can get injured. So being more mindful of that while I'm training is something I've been doing. So just being aware of that, knowing that I haven't been doing that much. I probably should be doing more of that stuff. I'm not, so really putting my focus when I'm training, make sure I'm present there. So yeah,
That's good.
because it's hard to do. It's hard to do everything. There's so much in fitness you could be doing. You could always be foam rolling,
Totally.
training your core, doing this, and you got to just prioritize what you can, right? So
That's a good point. This is conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, there's a zillion. You could spend, you know, the top athletes in the world spend 3-4 hours a day doing their things. They do mobility work for an hour. They get the top athletes, LeBron James, stuff like that.
spends over $1 million a year on recovery.
Yeah, every day, every
On
game
recovery.
they're getting stretched out. Every day they're getting physical. So you can do so much with your body. You only have a limited time. You have all these different priorities in life. It's discipline, and you do what you can, right? You do what you can. Yeah. How do you stay motivated?
That's a good question, man. It's
When you're tired and you're just working.
I probably have like this is a conversation where maybe it's more of like off the mainstream of what maybe people would say. I really there's certain something in me. I'm motivated. Like when I was growing up, my dad used to always say to me, like, if you're not into something, you're not into it, Andrew. I can tell. And it was hard for me to really get into something if I just wasn't, if it didn't come from right here, you know?
Yeah.
So my motivation really does come from, like, it's
Inside.
deep. I don't stir up, like, motivation. It's not something I conjure up.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some people need to do that, and that is something that I know works.
Yeah.
For some people, but I love coming in, man. Love it, man. I love coming in and training. I love coming in and coaching. I'm passionate about it. I love being around people and training together. Like, this is not a game. This is not, like, I don't take it lightly. Why do I love it? It's just something God has given me. It's a passion. It's a desire that spills outside of this gym.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I friggin' love it.
Yeah.
I love training with people. I love coaching people. I love being coached.
Yeah.
I love training hard. I love trying to do the next exercise. Like, it's in me, man. I just love it.
I'd love to see just people have a good, like, they come in, do something hard, and they're having a good time doing it. They feel good.
So
You know
good.
what I mean?
So good.
I
So
love
good.
seeing that.
It's very, very rewarding. Fitness is a very rewarding thing in this world.
Yeah.
If you are up for the challenge of showing up in being pushed outside of the normal, or maybe of something that you're really used to, it's extremely engaging. There's endorphins.
Yeah.
There's connection with other people as you're doing it. It's rewarding too, when your body and mind can start to change.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a process that I think if people can just get it to click, and if they can just stay the course, and if they can just be willing to do the things that maybe aren't easy, there's another side to it that's called reward. It's just, it kind of goes together.
The mental benefit is
Yeah.
unbelievable too.
Yeah,
You can't work out and then feel worse after. I don't think it's possible to feel bad, go for a workout, and then leave feeling worse.
No, and that's the thing I know you and me both work through with running the business, is like, people come and go.
Yeah.
And then some people stick around.
Yeah.
But why are they sticking around? There's obviously intangible things like the community and relationship and that stuff. But then there's people who they've really transformed.
Yeah.
Like some people, like right here, we're in Durham. We've only been here like 10 months, but like I've seen some ladies, specifically, there's 4 ladies I can think of at the 6 a.m. class that could do one monkey bar for like a month. And then they just started chipping away. And now they're literally going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Or pull-ups, or never done a pull-up in gym. That's always cool to see, right?
Right? So, yeah.
Just the energy about working out, right? Just that I look forward. You see some people come in and they never worked out before in their life. And then they come in and now it's like it's a part of their life. They can't imagine life without exercise. That's always cool to see.
That's good. One of the things I just want to touch on before we kind of switch topics is like maybe our athletic goals from before compared to now. I know Josh has always been an amazing athlete. Never played sports at the university level or like pro or semi-pro level, but you've always been a great athlete. How have our goals kind of changed from back when I played football or back when maybe you were really into basketball to now with HYROX? You know?
Yeah, I think for me lately it's just like it was all about, you know, you go through high school, it's about looking a certain way, right? And that's totally changed as I get older. It's just totally, for me, it's just about having a great relationship with exercise and like longevity and feeling good. And I want to feel good and try to maximize my longevity and learn how to perform better. The goal of like, not so much the mirror, but like more like, HYROX has given me like a number that I can focus on and try to get better at. And I know it includes so many aspects of fitness, like we talked about. You know, I need to have my mobility important. Like, there's no mobility test in HYROX, but I know I need to improve that to get better at the other things.
I got you, yeah.
So it's
That's
really
good.
connected to longevity for me, and it's just that's been motivating for me. So like for me, it's just trying to stay young and as long as I can, and we all age and stuff like that. But that's like the motivation for exercise for me, and just the mental thing it does for me as well. So before, I think it was a lot more going through high school about, you know, just pounding weights, chasing a pump, trying to look a certain way, eating to like try to look a certain way. But now it's more just about that longevity piece and trying to,
that's good.
to stay younger.
That's good. Nice, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, for me it's a lot different.
Wait, tell me about it.
Well, with football specifically, you're really training for a very short amount you train for your sport. So what is football? Football is an explosive sport that lasts 4 quarters, but it's broken into 4, 5, 6 second plays.
Yeah.
And then you get 40 seconds to rest.
Yeah.
You huddle up and you go on to the next thing. Very strategic sport, very high impact sport. So you're training in that way.
Yeah.
And obviously there's 12-week blocks, off-season blocks where you're gaining strength and all that. But you're performing. I was performing for those plays.
Yeah.
I was a quarterback, so I was just throwing the ball, accuracy, but then being able to do it out of explosive training. So HYROX is different in that I'm not actually doing a specific skilled sport, positional sport like quarterback. I'm doing a race that hundreds, thousands of other people are doing the same one.
Yeah.
And it's also different in that it's very endurance based.
Yeah.
I had to be conditioned as a football player, but HYROX is an endurance race.
Yeah.
And strength definitely does play a factor in that. So I've been training, maybe squatting more than I've squatted in a long time with you and Patient and Lanny and Moran. It's been so fun.
Yeah.
But then you also have to run.
Yeah.
You also have to work on your aerobic capacity and things like that. So it's very different for me. Right now.
It's you can train in so many ways. Like I said, you got to be, you got to eat right.
Yes,
you got to
yes,
sleep
yes,
right.
yes.
You got to do your mobility game so you can do the squats. So you can get better at the sled. So it's all in common.
So let's keep moving because we only have a couple minutes left.
A couple minutes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the. I want to talk about the phase 3 and.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's talk about phase 3. Let's talk about the things that we've learned going into phase 3 and how we're going to approach phase 3 programming.
Okay, so FTRDx, Functional Training Redefined, our programming approach we've really dived into the world of programming for 2 gyms. And it's been great. It's been a learning curve for me and you.
Yeah.
It's been also a communication curve, learning how to communicate with the clients about it. There's terminology being thrown around that maybe not everyone understands. Even within the coaching, we're trying to get on the same page terminology-wise, so that's interesting. So overall, it's been a learning curve, but it's been great.
Yeah.
Because this past week, we saw between Durham and East York, probably like 10 or 12 new PBs, new
weight going up.
personal best, which is awesome to see in the strength classes. I have seen, and I, as a coach who does more so the conditioning classes, I have seen people become more athletically inclined and nimble on their feet throughout game day and rush in these classes, being able to move laterally. So it's cool to see a specific theme that they're sticking to for 6 weeks, and then they're moving and they carry it on with them to the next theme. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, that's been really cool.
It's so rewarding.
Loving the strength gains, loving seeing people doing PRs and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
One of the things I wanted to talk about in this regard was the mistake that I have made, I would say, is we've implemented HYROX classes, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
We have certain flagship classes that are our signature classes, such as game day, rush, these classes, strength U, gains. And I think as we sort of started programming, we were all preparing for HYROX, which was great. And there was aspects of HYROX, such as a burpee broad jump or these things that kind of made their way into all of these classes.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to share, I think that was a mistake that we can slowly turn from to go back to some ways that made us unique and stick to the HYROX classes for HYROX. Now, they all go together to help you in HYROX,
Yeah.
but it's not the only goal.
Yeah, so I think just to put it very, what's the word? To just be direct about it. Just I think where the goal is for phase 3 and moving on is to in these classes like game day rush, like Andrew was talking about our signature classes, is to not use as many movements from HYROX as we had been doing. I think we were maybe using a little bit too much. So moving forward, I think it's going to be make a little tweaks like that. Just make not that we would never ever use a movement, but
I was just going to say the thing that we liked about HYROX so much is that it aligns so well with the type
we were
of
already
training
doing,
here.
yeah.
So you're still going to get those aspects.
But I think we were going
Yeah.
a little bit more than after looking at the program and
Right.
getting some feedback,
Right.
acknowledging that we can make some tweaks like that.
100%, 100%.
And we will.
Yeah. So that's something that has been a learning curve, and I would even go as far as saying like a mistake that I've made in some of the conditioning classes and programming for them. So that's cool. And then looking forward to seeing some big weight with deadlifts. We got some deadlifts coming up, and another thing we are going to be doing.
I got something too.
This is huge. This is huge with the strength classes. Is we're learning. We're developing a primary and secondary lift for the most part. Now, when we hit that and we go to week 6, and we are now going to be conscious of carrying that particular skill that they've just developed and they've gotten stronger on, and bring it into the next phase, and still have it there, but not as a primary or secondary lift. So we are going to still hit bench press the next phase.
Yeah.
We are going to still hit back squats the next phase, but it's not going to be that primary lift.
Yeah, patient was kind of giving me some feedback about the gains, which was very good. Just kind of not abandoning those lifts for 6 weeks, but kind of supplementing every other week so that you continue to work on your skill. So it was very great feedback. Going to be implementing that in the next phase. So like Andrew said, we're just finishing up bench. We don't want to go 6 weeks without benching again. We're going to be working that in the programming.
Yeah, learning that, and it's been great. And I think a lot of things have went well. So that's for another podcast.
Just being honest with you and just being open and just saying, we're learning too, and anything new, there's going to be like some learning. Practice makes perfect, or not quite perfect, but you get better with practice.
Yeah.
And Yeah, we're excited.
It's so exciting. It's enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, excited to try to improve it and continue to improve it, right? So.
And just touching on the HYROX thing, like now we have HYROX classes, and we're still going to put our foot on the gas with that and continue to offer these HYROX classes that are going to continue to evolve as well. And you want to get better at HYROX, come to those classes. If you're not in HYROX but you still want a great workout, come to that class. So focusing on that, excited for HYROX classes to continue to evolve. It's going to be wild.
They've been very
tough
fun.
workouts. Go ahead.
I'm drawing a blank here. I didn't have anything left. I was just thinking about how fun yesterday was, and this is Durham. Yeah,
it's good. And then we only got a couple minutes left. So one of the things we could talk about to wrap it up is culture.
Yeah.
Gym culture.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship and how those cross and how they can merge. And just from an entrepreneurial business perspective, let's talk about that.
Okay, we're going to try to do this in 5 minutes. We may have to continue on because I think it's a big topic.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive topic.
It's a big topic. You want to ask me more of a direct question? So
I can jump into it. Okay. So to give people context, this is our February 2025 will be our 10th year doing resilience, and it wasn't until 10 months ago that we opened a second gym.
Yeah.
Our intention and goal was we don't want to open 2 gyms and have 2 separate gyms. We want resilience to be multiplied. Yeah. In that people are being impacted by the culture and the experience that they come when they come into our walls, whether that's at Durham or resilience. That's always been our goal, and there's been challenges with that along the way.
Yeah.
Geographically, Durham and East York are 30, 40 minutes apart.
Yeah.
There's coaches here, there's coaches there. There's maybe a different demographic here compared to East York and vice versa.
Yeah.
We've always wanted to bring them together in different ways. What are some of the challenges that you've been experiencing lately?
I think because the 2 gyms are different in the sense that one, we have the space that is our own and one that isn't. That makes it a little bit challenging. There's things that we can do at one place that we can't do at the other place, right? So, for example, we weren't using the back room. We thought, when me and Andrew first came in here, we thought the back room was going to be used for classes. After using it for like 6 months, it was like we were just basically storing equipment there. So we were thinking, like, how do we utilize this room and make use of it? So, we have an idea to get more personal training going on, do an open gym. That stuff is very challenging to do at East York when we don't have our own facility. So, there's stuff, like I said, that we can do here that we can't do there, and that can sometimes create this like, well, why can't you do it here? Or why are you doing that there and not doing it here? And sometimes it could be, it can be challenging to navigate those things and make decisions that way. But so they're 2 different spaces, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's handled differently as well. So like our landlord here has actually given us tons of equipment to use because he ran the gym that was in here prior to us coming in as tenants.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of equipment that he let us use that was actually part of the lease, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And then with East York, I'll say another challenge is we have to set up and tear down because there's other user groups a part of the dome.
Yeah.
And that being said, let's give East York the space a shout out. It's incredible. Uh-huh. Like I'm so thankful that we get to run class in a dome. And it's awesome.
Sometimes you can do workouts there that you could never do here. Never do here.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
The running, the space, the amount of space that we have allows us for doing stuff that you can't duplicate here. And you get a little bit of a different vibe, little tweaks to the workout and stuff like that, especially survivors and stuff like that, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think sometimes there's maybe there can be a challenge to the culture when what we're hoping to do is build the same culture at both places.
Yeah.
And a lot of times our clients or people giving us feedback, or we ask for feedback and we're curious because we want to we want you guys to have a good experience.
Yeah.
So we've made some decisions and choices where maybe it wasn't the best decision.
Yeah.
And we're learning for that. So yeah, it's just like keeping the culture up, continuing to show up each day and stick to our values about like what's important.
And even acknowledging, like, as a business, we're stuck to make some tough decisions that, you know, with the expansion of the new location, there's a little bit of pressure to pay bills and to get things going. So sometimes we're in a position where we have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
Even just acknowledging we cut a couple classes this week, which was a very tough decision. But
and we're learning to communicate through that. Like maybe there was a way that we could have said something or acknowledged something in a better way.
Yeah.
So it's like, thank God that we're learning.
yeah,
Thank God that. That's why I like being business partners with you. Is that I feel like by God's grace, we're both like willing to learn, and like we make a lot of mistakes.
slow learning,
but like
passionate.
And honestly, like sometimes like we need to like genuinely be apologetic too, and like because there's people in here, and there's people at East York, and they are people, and they want to be like you. We want to care for them, and
Yeah.
they want to have a good experience. So we take that like really to heart.
It's hard
And
when
we're
you're kind of like, for me, like I don't like when I'm not liked, and then you're also trying to run a business and stuff like that, and you got to make decisions that sometimes not everyone's going to like, but getting feedback and learning from your mistakes. We have like 30 seconds left before this tape runs out.
Oh my God. We got to continue that conversation because this is a good conversation, and we are learning a lot. And yeah, there's more things we'd love to talk about and address, and maybe even go live and have an interactive thing. So yeah, I just love y'all, man. I love, if you're listening to this, we appreciate you guys. And yeah, let's keep rocking.
Have a good week, guys. We'll see you next time.